Hey everybody, ronarray here, and faster builds can be very fun to play. The fastest character I ever played in PoE 2 is my hyper-speed Hollow Palm Monk build from 0.3, and today it is perfect time to resurrect it. GG did a lot to nerf this setup, but in 0.5 with Martial Artist Ascendancy it can shine again. This build navigates through maps like a train, while the barrage of attack shoots projectile across the screen. Hollow Palm requires no weapon, build stacks damage through defenses, and attacks really fast, reaching 11 plus attacks per second in a proper setup. Let's go further and I will explain how the current setup works, what are the most important items, budget options, and answer the main question: can we reach 0.3 time glory? Also, feel free to subscribe to the channel if you appreciate fun builds, and let's go! So, how the build works? At the moment, we are using a combination of different things to push our attack speed for Tempest Flurry as high as possible. You can still get about 10 attack per second, even without absolutely crazy gear, and probably go higher than 12 if you invest a lot of currency. So for that, we are using Hollow Palm technique, which is providing 1% of more attack speed per 75% item evasion on equipped armor items, stacking more evasion from items allowing us to move faster with Tempest Flurry. And in 0.5 we also have additional things such as cool jewels with additional attack speed, increased effect of suffixes, which is adding even more attack speed on top of it. And for the main movement part of the build we also don't really need a weapon because we're going to utilize a Hollow Palm. Plus, we can also use weapon sets, weapon set 1 for movement and weapon set 2 to deal with bosses and rares. For that, we're going to use a Fallen Thunder, together with Feast of War, Ancestral Boost and 100% crit, since we will be able to stack power charges through additional mechanics such as Hollow Focus and get the power charges freely, so they always will be up, and we can just use Fallen Thunder to clear any kind of enemy which is not dying from a Tempest Flurry. And for additional damage, to just move across all the maps, we're going to use Staggering Palm. Staggering Palm is giving 30 seconds buff, which allowing us to shoot multiple projectiles every time when we are moving with Tempest Flurry, creating a pretty nice chain of skills, which is going to clear most of the maps for us. And as the last part of the setup, we are using Martial Artist Ascendancy for pretty cool transformed gloves, which are giving tremendous amount of evasion and energy shield. Those gloves can also get a pretty nice bonus of increased attack speed when on the full life, which is together with our CI is going to always be up, and additional surpassing chance to fire an additional projectile for a Staggering Palm, stacking pretty perfectly with the build setup. So now let's quickly talk about rotation. When you join in map, you need to use your Staggering Palm on the hollow bells that appear in, and you will get the buff off top. As you can see, that buff right here is about 30 seconds long at the maximum level. So between the fights you will need to reuse that buff to have the projectiles. So for example, when you're moving, clearing everything, and the buff goes down, you need to just stop and reuse it in a second. For that, I just start spamming Staggering Palm instead of my normal Tempest Flurry. If you will try it for a few times, I think you will get used to it pretty fast, and if you played the build before, I think it's going to work absolutely fine and you will get used to it even faster. So use the Fallen Thunder only for bosses and keep reusing Staggering Palm to always have the buff up perfectly against the bells, because it's going to guarantee the buff for you. Now let's talk about the setup in more details. You can also check more information in my written guide, which I'm going to leave both in the pinned comment and in the description. So there's going to be a lot of useful info too. So talking about the setup, at the moment for Staggering Palm, I'm using a full elemental version and not the classical physical one. The big answer to why is the setup that I already have for elemental damage. I believe that the gloves can provide a tremendous bonus for elemental damage, because you can gain percent of damage as extra lightning, fire, cold, and like all of them together. It's a pretty cool bonus, so big part of damage for Staggering Palm is always going to be elemental. Since you can also use a very good ring for additional damage to attacks, fire, lightning and cold, there is a big chance that we can make Staggering Palm a pretty nice skill for elements. Physical version is still working too, however elements at the moment is stacking pretty nice, especially if you already have like a Trinity amulet. So for Staggering Palm, I'm using elemental armament, elemental focus, pinpoint critical, multi-shot and retreat. All of those gems are here just to maximize the damage from Staggering Palm itself, so it will deal as much as possible and will help us out against almost any enemy we're encountering. So right here, with the basic setup, as you can see, my critical hit chance about 71%. So if your budget is very high, you can replace the pinpoint critical with Garrukhan Resolve right here. It's going to be the best option because that way you have about 45% of critical hit chance, and considering we still have days in the tree, with the days it's going to be like 50% chance critical just with Garrukhan. Same goes for Fallen Thunder. That ability is mostly used only for bosses, so keep in mind that to use it you always need to have like power charges up there. Use it only when you have 5 power charges, so for that just use Pinpoint Critical, Elemental Armament, Blind Sight, Fist of War and Lightning Penetration. If your budget is very high, you can replace Lightning Penetration with Rakiatas. So for Tempest Flurry to move as fast as possible, at the moment I'm using Rapid Attacks, Efficiency, Rage and Rigveld's Ferocity. Rigveld's Ferocity for weapon set number 1, which is Empty Hands, Unarmed, which we are using to move around. But there's a cool trick how to fix your mana issue. Your Tempest Flurry should be level 5. It's going to make mana consumption for the skill as low as possible, so if Staggering Palm perfectly should be 20, same as Fallen Thunder, Tempest Flurry should be as low as possible. So the next thing which is helping us a lot with survivability is Ghost Dance. Right here I have cooldown recovery and clarity, so not much changes. Healing Palm is still in the build to help you generate charges before the boss fight starts. Sometimes it's helping, especially if you're fighting like Pinnacles, so you can hit them with Fallen Thunder. A right combination right here is just using Tempest Flurry a few times against the boss and use Fallen Thunder only after. That way, your Tempest Flurry is going to give you Blazing Critical bonus. It's also going to daze and blind the boss, especially if you have Staggering Palm buff, so you can use Fallen Thunder to deal tremendous damage to the boss itself. Herald of Ash is still a very decent herald, you can use Herald of Thunder instead, but Ash is working absolutely fine. So the next part is charge stuff. Since we're generating power charges automatically, using charge stuff is pretty easy and it's pretty nice bonus damage. So right here you can use Prolonged Duration, Culling Strike, Innervate, Embitter and Blazing Critical. All of that I'm using just to get Trinity up. So Trinity is not mandatory for the build, but if you have an amulet with a Trinity with plus level of all melee skills, it's working out pretty great. If you don't, you can just ignore that part, but generally Trinity is a pretty nice damage bonus, especially since most of the things we are using is practically dealing elemental damage. If it's not going to help much with Fallen Thunder offset, it's still helping with Staggering Palm, and I believe in the most cases it's just worth it. For Trinity we don't need any supports, and that pretty much stays as it is. And right here we're reaching a very important part, which is power charge generation. So how to make sure your power charges are always up when you're doing your maps. And for that, we're going to use a Holo Focus setup with Living Lightning, Culmination and Else Chimes. Please make sure you're adding those gems one by one, because if you will try to add Else Chimes or Culmination first, it's not working. First, add Living Lightning, after that Culmination, and Else Chimes the last. That combo is going to help you out to generate charges passively with your Holo Focus. I'm still using Ocean Oath for additional leech. It's helping big part of the mana problems, so you will need leech on the ring for leech percent of physical attack damage as mana, and Ocean Oath is going to help out with elemental damage from Holo Focus. And I'm using cooldown recovery, so spells will spawn more often. They're giving charges, they're giving leech, and helping out with that. So I'm still using Holo Resonance as an option too, with Magnified, Blind, Elemental Armament, Close Combat and Culling Strike. The big part of Hollow Resonance is just providing a pretty nice offset of blind if you don't have Staggering Palm, which providing blind from quality, as you can see. Your basic speed, if your gear is good, should be around 10. If your gear is much more average, you should be around 8 attack per second. With more expensive gear and with the Mage Blood, you can push about 11.76. I think it's possible to push even higher, but I haven't invested too much currency into the current setup. Keep in mind that having about 8 attacks per second is very important for the build to feel comfortable. And for additional damage, we're also using a pretty cool trick with Fallen Thunder. So all the skills locked in the first weapon set, when Fallen Thunder locked in the second weapon set. In the second weapon set, we're using a basic weapon with +5 level for melee skills, some additional damage and crit. My weapon is pretty good because I'm using it for my previous build. However, if your weapon is like half or even 30% of it, you're going to be absolutely fine just because Fallen Thunder is dealing tremendous damage by itself. Just make sure that you have about 15% critical chance on that weapon, +5 level for melee skills, and as high DPS as you can afford at the moment. If you don't want to use weapon at all, it's still playable to just fight bosses with Staggering Palm. However, using the Fallen Thunder in the second weapon set is a pretty nice bonus. In the first, we're just taking everything speed related, so like Sharp Sight here, Agile Succession. We also have a Deep Trance, so all part for the movement speed right here. And the second weapon set is just used to boost the crit. The rest of this tree is pretty obvious. You're just taking all possible points up here, you're taking a little survivability for Spectral Ward. If you feel like you need more survivability, you can always give up some additional damage points around it and invest into additional small points right there to get more evasion and more energy shield. Usually your evasion should be approximately like 50%, and if you're using Mage Blood it should be closer to 70. So for the rest of the stuff, we're just taking all the days passives right here, and I'm using a pretty nice jewel with increased effect of notable passives, additional attack speed, attack damage and very large radius. As your unique jewel, I recommend Heart of the Wild, just with critical damage bonus and double extra damage is going to work just fine for you. And the last part of the jewel is just getting maximum energy shield bonus 1. I already showcased how to craft that, not for too expensive, so feel free to check that out. For the Ascendancy, it's practically Runic Meridians, Way of the Stun Fist, Hollow Focus and Hollow Resonance, as I already showcased. Also, don't forget to invest at least 1 point in the stun and element threshold from energy shield. If you're still getting stunned occasionally, you can go up and invest into abasement fully. Now, let's talk about the items. First off, what are we using as status? For status, I'm using 1 for lightning resistance, 1 for increased energy shield recharge, 1 for reduced effect of cursors, for non-damaging elements, and 1 for Pharaoh's Rune. So I think that's pretty optimal, but you can swap lightning resistance or magnitude of elements, it's going to be absolutely alright. So for the gloves are probably playing the biggest role in the whole setup, and I got that pretty cheap, so I think you can get those gloves for a very small amount of currency. So we're going to get lightning damage to attacks and fire damage to attacks. It also could be physical or cold, so any flat damage to attacks like double. After that, you will need to get tier 1 evasion, perfectly hybrid, or any kind of tier 1 flat defense bonus. That bonus is going to transform into +4 evasion rating and +1 maximum energy shield per level, which is absolutely amazing and going to boost our gloves significantly. After that, dexterity is also pretty important because it's getting transformed into surpassing chance to fire an additional projectiles. And projectiles is working for Staggering Palm and for Fallen Thunder as well, so I heavily recommend it. Life per enemy killed is absolutely useless, but cast speed when on full life is absolutely amazing because it gives us increased attack speed when on full life by itself. However, getting that modifier together with double flat and evasion plus energy shield is very important. You can also try to craft similar gloves by just spamming bases in the similar way like I showcased in my previous video. As the only rune, I recommend to use Cardigan Epitha. just to get an additional jewel socket, and for jewel socket get attack speed, some critical damage bonus, and like projectile damage bonus could be nice if you have it as an option, but just attack speed and critical is more than enough if you want to get it for cheap. I got those gloves for maybe 10 divines and the jewel for about 15 more, so it should be very cheap at the moment. The rest of the items is pretty obvious. So for your helmet, I recommend to use just energy shield and resistances as high as possible. For the ring, getting for triple damage, some rarity and leech is good. Resistances are not too important, you can always compensate with status. For the boots, just getting deflection, some resistances, high evasion and energy shield. Same for the body armor, as high energy shield and evasion as possible. If you feel like you're lacking the speed, you can always go full evasion as well. And as amulet, I'm still using my classical Trinity amulet. You can check the crafting video that I have on my channel on how to craft the similar one. Right here, I'm allocating stimulants just for additional speed, and I'm using Lavianga to always have some flask effect up on myself. If you have enough currency, you can also invest into Mage Blood with like Stibnite, Sulfur and Silver, or any combination of those. You need one for evasion, Silver and Sulfur. Any double combo would be perfect. For Chevron Satchel to regenerate your energy shield, you will need to use Ultimate Flask for 30% of recovery applied instantly. Don't miss that modifier. And as a second ring, I'm using Calendar's Touch. So out of the gear, the most important part is gloves, after that it's body armor, and after that is the ring, then amulet, and the boots are probably the least important. For the charm, I recommend to get Spirit of the Wolf, because that's pretty cheap at the moment, and if you want to invest, it's alright. Getting cat or something even more expensive is fine too, but don't focus on investing on that a lot. I believe the build is working better on higher budget, but it still could be done on the mid budget. However, if your budget is very low and you have only like 10 divines, I usually recommend to play something like my Virulent Trinity Monk, and you can swap to that one later on when you will have more currency in general. Hope that video will help you out to build something similar and enjoy the league a little more. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time. ronarray out.